So what I'm going to do first in this video is actually just read verbatim the post by Meddler about the mid-season and opening up bot lane to other champions that aren't marksmen. Then afterwards, I'll go more in depth explaining what that could possibly mean. Of course, it's a little bit speculation because nothing's set in stone yet, but pretty much the post reads like this. About a week back, we put out a video dev diary covering some of our goals for the gameplay in 2018. Worth a look if you haven't seen it, and there's a link for that. One thing mentioned there, I figured it'd be good to talk about a bit more, is our plans to open up bot lane to a wider range of champions in the farming position. It's something we've been interested in and talked about for a long time, but we haven't dedicated the needed efforts to properly support non-marksmen there. There's a typo there, so it kind of threw me off. It says two like twice, but anyway. That's meant a game state where marksmen have been efficiently a required pick as a result. A lot of players have called us out on that. In particular, we've talked about wanting to support more diversity, but haven't opened up more consistent part of team comps. Our biggest goal with mid-season is to change that. Make it so that there's a relatively effective choice to sometimes run a comp that doesn't have a marksman in the bot lane, or potentially doesn't have a marksman at all. It's kind of workable at present, but we agree should be a lot more so. That's likely to involve work on items for non-marksman bot lanes, adjusting some supports so that they've got stronger synergies with non-marksmen, maybe changes to things like how towers take damage even. We generally want to stay away from changing individual champions so that they go to bot though. This is about opening up the position to other classes, not putting mechanics on champs that are bot lane specific. Details overall still being worked on, we're just kicking off planning and investigating right now. It's likely that, at least initially, we're supporting a range of non-marksmen in bot, but that a number of other classes still don't have a way to succeed there. A lot of mages might be effective choices there, but skirmishers not. Assuming the initial opening up works well, we want to continue to gradually open up the position over time. And there's a question I actually asked about that dev block a while ago on a side note, are they doing this so that certain champions that can kind of already maybe go bot lane are supported so that they can go bot lane? Well, the long-term goal is that these are stepping stones so that bot lane can just be a place where a lot of champions can actually go that aren't ADCs. But further on the post, a lot of people ask some more questions about this. For example, hi Meddler, my concern about bringing non-marksman champions in the bot lane is that will result in wave clear mages taking over the lane entirely. I can't imagine liking a meta where people take a Zero bot because they can safely push any ADC marksman in and poke them underneath their tower, forcing them to back constantly. How do you guys look at handling these kinds of situations? In which case he responds, yeah, that's on our minds a lot right now, both in terms of wanting to ensure bot still has an interesting laning phase that isn't just AoE clear the wave and then back off, and wave clear from mid lane in general. Part of the solution might be making sure that whenever we change to help mages play, bot synergizes better with non-wave clear mages instead. So basically, whatever changes they make might be changes that synergize well with non-wave clear bot lane marksmen, or mages I should say. I'm messing up my words. So that way you don't just be in a meta where a mage that's already good at wave clear then has like a Blitzcrank or Leona there and they just wave clear constantly. If you try and fight them, you can't, because then the engage they have will just actually get you destroyed instead. They want to kind of avoid that. Again, this is all in earlier working phases. There was another question, of course, that follows up asking, would you guys be looking at new champions or reworks to help out with the goal of non-marksman bot lanes being viable? My friends love doing kill lanes bot, and I love Kindred and Ivern, both of whom plug holes in the team comp when they do off-meta stuff in lane. I would love to have more niche champions designed for lanes their class usually don't go. He responds, maybe a bit. We want to open up bot lane to other classes in general though, not just a few champions who have had their kits tailored to being able to replace an ADC in the current system. That's not to say we think making champions who can go in unusual positions versus usual expectations is bad, just it doesn't hit our goal right here. And then there was another follow-up question. Are we going to see more changes to open up build paths and roles for champions, not just bot lane, like you did by promoting Echo Jungle in the recent 8.2 changes, or giving Rengo AP scalings in the PvE? There are a lot of champions that can work in different ways or positions as well, those that have previously worked on certain positions but now no longer do. For example, ADC Crit Kennen became one of the, if not the absolute worst ADC choice as a result of his on-tank, on-hit build getting nerfed, even though his Glass Cannon crit build had a healthy niche. Can we expect more changes that can help promote these types of different playstyles? And he responds, yes. We'll be trying to do more stuff like that, both at the individual kit level and items room that support alternative playstyles. So basically, in other words, what's going on here is that a lot of people for a while now, depending who you ask, don't like the idea of an ADC having to be in every single kind of game and meta. And in my excuse as an AD carry player, it's not even necessarily the power. I kind of can see why some people complain, because the reason why AD carry is probably meta season after season, meta after meta, no matter what, is most likely their consistent DPS. As long as things like tanks and objectives exist, you always kind of want that consistent DPS. It's kind of like the idea, if you play against Maokai right now and you don't have an AD carry, let's say you did an ARAM game to like get you off tilted because you're tilted on ranked, and you go against a Maokai and you're all mages. If he just stacks magic resist, you're not going to have the burst or the consistent DPS to out-damage both his resistances and the healing that's now in his kit. Without that DPS, and without forcing him to have to build a mixed amount of both magic resist and armor, he's just going to be unkillable really, and it's going to be a really painful time. So even though you do have some mages right now like Ziggs with a W who can knock down towers, you don't really have a way to necessarily deal with tanks all that well. You can think like damage over time mages like Malzahar, but what's it called? Adaptive Helm kind of really counters that a bit hard right now, and relatively well too. It's not impossible of course, but that's the concept of why marksmen, in particular AD carries, they're always bot lane and why they are always meta. You want that DPS. DPS doesn't have a cooldown because it's auto-attacking, and they tend to build up a lot of attack speed. The only way you really hinder that is with things like Frozen Heart and Randuin's Omen, which, yeah, those can be very annoying, especially if you're something like a Jinx. You go against that and your DPS just drops significantly, and when your DPS drops, your ability to kite and orb walk drops, and it can get you in a very bad situation. But overall, it's not that bad. That is, of course, we see AD carries, even if it's not always the same AD carries, some AD carries are always meta. So the changes they want to do here is a bit more flexibility. Obviously, some people, when they're really good with some off-meta stuff, they take that bot lane. But right now, if you're trying to go double bruiser bot lane, you get punished with it really hard. One of the things I remember is when they tried to make Mordekaiser a bot laner, just how easy it was for me to beat them with both Jinx and Ezreal. This was one of the easiest lanes, in my opinion, to beat Mordekaiser, and he didn't really have the tools to fight back. It wasn't necessarily that Ezreal or Jinx were overpowered at the time. It's like, I have range, you don't have range, I kind of just win, we shove you, and since you don't even want to fall back, we just destroy you, take your tower, and win the game from there. And it's unfortunate, but that's what they're trying to change. So in other words, bot lane is going to be shaken up so that you probably can still be able to play ADCs down there. They don't want to make sure the ADC class is obsolete because they're kind of balanced around being a dual lane, and if you push them out of bot lane, there's not really anywhere else they can go. You maybe can take some of them, like a Lucian or Ezreal, into the mid lane or the top lane, but you probably won't take things like Kog'Maw, Jinx, the more mobile stuff especially. They probably won't survive very well in the solo lane. The instance that they slightly overextend, like a mobile jungler is going to be there and destroy them because they won't have a support because they're not in a dual lane anymore. So obviously, unless of course that changes, which is the idea I'm going to end this video on, but to kind of just really explain what we talked about so far in this video, basically for what the mid-season update, like last year and in years prior, they've done like mages in the mid-season or tanks. Well, this season what they're going to try and do is actually just make it so you can play other things successfully in the bottom lane. So they can succeed in the bottom lane without crowding out AD carries. So if you want to just play AD carries, you can. But generally they want you, if you're AD carry main, to eventually just become a bot lane main. So in other words, if the bot lane rotation is AD carry class, you can probably play that very well. But if bot lane meta became mages, instead of having to compete with mid laners for that role suddenly, because they can already play mages, you will just eventually learn to play mages and do that well. But as for the idea that I'm going to end on, is maybe this is also laying some of the stonework, the groundwork if you will, to open up being able to play AD carries and other roles and survive in solo lanes a bit better. I don't know if that necessarily will be the case, because something like a Jinx being able to survive in a solo lane and more easily farm up and scale up to her late game might not be healthy for the game. But I imagine there's going to be some of those people that just like playing the AD carry class in particular, just like you have mid laners who, even though the mid lane is like mages and assassins and kind of anything, there are definitely those kind of assassin only, I only want to play assassin people. And there might be that for the AD carry role now when this happens as well. They only want to play AD carries. But I'm kind of speculating at this point. I wanted to read that post as a AD carry player until other people, of course, come out with a video like this as well. You might see Fi make a video on this as well since he's an AD carry player. And this is kind of big news because the mid-season is usually around May. That's only a few months away when you really think about how time flies. So that's all for this video, and the question I'm going to leave you guys with is, hey, what do you think about other champions besides AD carries being able to succeed in the bottom lane? Are you excited for that, or do you actually only want AD carries in the bottom lane? Be it because you think they can only succeed down there, you don't want them to end up in other lanes. We do kind of see Lucian in other lanes, and it's kind of a problem for some people. So, that's all for this video. Feel free to like and subscribe as well, but I don't know which video will be next, because life's been quite a mess. So until next time, take care from the Fire Godai FS, and thank you for watching.